I'm Eulanda Sanders, founder of Innovation Insights, and I'm so pleased to have both of you here. So, why Innovation Insights? The big why on why I started this was I was transitioning out of an administrative position in academia and had companies previously and thought, this would be an opportunity to re-explore that, help individuals tell their stories. I'm trained in the fashion industry, and as we know, clothing is a way to communicate quite a bit about who we are, and we do that through nonverbal communication with both the clothing, but also our body movements. And then I've also had a background in storytelling from not just fashion, but also research. My research area as a graduate student was on slave narratives and the stories and how women use clothing to tell their stories as slaves. And so there are narratives that were written in the mid 1800s. And so did deep analysis of that, have worked with many graduate students over the years who have also done narrative analysis, basically storytelling, either through documents, analyzing those, through interviews, collecting qualitative data, those narratives. So thought, well, with all of that background and interest in personal branding, and especially for academics, to start with, and then also recent grads too, because I've worked a lot with recent grads on helping them tell their story so that they can, one, get the interview. So tell the story through their resume or their dossier and or their curriculum vitae if they're a faculty member, and then get the interview, and then also have walked people through the interview and coached them through the interview process over the last 35 years. Fortunately, after I started thinking about this and putting it together, I was talking with Mark, who is one of our consultants on our team, and we had collaborated for several years, for about 12 years on different projects related to the fashion industry. And so I talked to him about that because he has excellent background in personal branding and was an executive in the fashion industry for numerous years and has also mentored students. And so at various stages of their career while they were in school and then also as they're transitioning into the workforce. And so he has made a great addition to this team as we're building innovation insights. So that is the why, really to help people tell their stories in an innovative way. And this is an exciting time to be doing this with all of the evolutions around artificial intelligence, AI, and how we can really be creative in how we help people tell their stories. So the work that we do it both with written word and verbal communication. So helping people in both of those areas, navigating workplace, career management, but then also we have the capabilities of doing some design work. So some of those visual assets that someone, when they're developing their personal brand, can use. So our mission is to transform career journeys through the art of storytelling via our consulting, coaching, and career management services. We have 6 core values, innovation being at the top of that. Inclusivity, community, empowerment, continuous learning, and integrity are the 6 values that the company is built on. We aspire to create a world where innovative storytelling and cutting-edge career management services empower individuals to achieve their fullest potential, drive positive change, and inspire future generations. This is our team. So Mark, who I just mentioned, Bridget, Valerie, myself, and Jan. As I mentioned with Mark, he has had an amazing career with Fortune 500 companies and has a degree from Iowa State University and an MBA from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And he has served during his time as an adjunct professor at Texas Christian University in their business school, and then also does independent consulting work too, with various organizations and independently. So happy to have him with us. Jian Yu is his area is research design and data analysis. And sometimes data really scares people, but he has really a way of working with data to help people tell their stories. And I would encourage anyone that listens to this or watches this later on, look at our podcasts that we have, because both Mark and Gian have podcasts on our channels that kind of talks about their work and their philosophies too. Bridget is our newest member, and she has a career in higher ed in student services and diversity, equity, and inclusion too. And her last role was assistant vice chancellor at the University of California in Irvine. She will be working with some group coaching projects for us in the future. Valerie is also a graduate of Iowa State University and has her PhD in hospitality management. So she also has a lot of industry experience and is a department chair of a hospitality program. She also does consulting with us, plus other organizations, and has just a range of teaching. And so is really great for working with our clients too. iNNO Insights, she is our virtual consultant. So if you go to our webpage, she will pop up and she's readily available to answer any questions. She also has her own small team too. So our personas. So we have 6 areas of individuals that we are focused working with. Aspiring professionals, those people that are just graduating from programs, either high school or college programs, but are getting ready to enter into the workforce. Mid-career professionals, someone that's at the maybe moving into the director level area. A seasoned executive, so someone that's moving into the C-suite or in the C-suite. Entrepreneurs and small business owners. There's a lot of people starting businesses now, and so it's just really incredible and exciting. Academic and research professionals, since we do have strong ties and backgrounds, a lot of us with academia. And sometimes academics aren't focused on for coaching, personal branding. We see this as an opportunity. And then transitioning professionals, individuals that might be transitioning out of a long time career into some independent work, consulting work, things like that. They might be moving into retirement, but not necessarily. Or they might be deciding that they're wanting to take on some other projects like writing books, becoming thought leaders, things like that. So our services, again, are consulting, coaching, and career management services, which includes some workshops too. As promised, we have 3 things or tips for personal branding. And personal branding sometimes is hard for people to wrap their mind around. They think of branding as being just for organizations, for companies, for industry, or for celebrities. But it is more important than ever for individuals to think about their brand. We all have a brand, but it's important for us to think about and take some control of our brand too. Celebrities generally do this in many ways, whether it's, good or bad. But as individuals, we all have a brand. It's what people think about us, what the world sees, knows about us. And so our goal is to help tell that story, which is the foundation of their brand, their personal brand. The 3 tips that I'm sharing tonight really revolve around your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is such an underutilized platform. Some people think that it's just for going out to look for a job. LinkedIn has decided that no, we are not just that. We are wanting to help foster thought leadership, help organizations. So there's groups. They've expanded. Video is very popular on there. And so thinking about your LinkedIn profile is really important. So keeping it up to date, making sure that you have a compelling title for what you do. The trend right now, I guess it's probably a little bit more than a trend, is to have maybe some adjectives or descriptive words that describe who you are. There used to be a time where you'd say, "Oh, I am a professor of such and such," or "I am a C-suite or VP of such and such." But really now, on LinkedIn, you'll see most people will have a few little adjectives describing what they are, what their role is, what their brand is. Making sure that you have a good image or banner behind your profile picture. There's an area that you can put that up. And what's nice now is that depending on your if you have membership or paid membership for LinkedIn, you can put multiple pictures in that and someone can scroll through that. But it's very important to have something there that also, again, aesthetically and visually represents who you are as an individual and your personal and professional brand. And then making sure that you curate your about section really well and that you have information in there. Second is making sure that you craft it that it's visually consistent. So your header, the banner is consistent, the about section is nicely, neatly spaced out, that you use bullets. It's not always the easiest to do that in there. You might have to use emojis sometimes instead of just a regular bullet like you would in a word processing platform. But there are ways to add some visual white space in there so it's easier to read and understand. And then sharing content on LinkedIn. Now, sometimes when people are thinking about their interactions on social media, they think that, "Oh, I'm supposed to go post," and you should post recognitions that you have had, and highlight those, but you need to think about the social part. So if you go to a party, and let's say if you walked into a party and you walked up to people and you just basically told, "Oh, I had this paper published. I won this award. I achieved this. I did this Ironman. I did that. I did this." You probably wouldn't be engaged that well within, that party. But if you came up and you shared some valuable knowledge, some information that you have, and then also interacting with everyone else and listening, commenting on what they are saying, that is the social part. And so sometimes individuals forget on social media that it's a two-way street. It is a communication. It is not just for you to post everything that you've done. You should post some of that, but you also need to interact with people, cheer people on, provide some ideas, thoughts. Anyone that has a LinkedIn account can write an article and put it and post it on their profile and give some and share some knowledge that they have. So I would encourage you to think about that. So those are the three personal branding tips, and really focused around LinkedIn. One item that we've worked on this summer is the story framework. And this is our trademark framework on how we're going to work with customers. We've spent the last 2 years piloting and testing, doing one-on-one coaching with clients, a variety of different clients. I'll show you some cases from that in a little bit. And from that, just realize that it's nice for us to have this framework to help move our clients through. The first part is self-discovery. It's that why analysis. And I think people don't, they know their why, but when you have to articulate it, it helps a lot. And Mark has a workshop, a personal branding workshop, actually a series, and he really does a nice job of going over that why analysis and why that's important. So, first part is self discovery. The second is transformation. And so, starting to think about how am I going to transform what I'm doing. This is a little bit more of the application with the transformation. So, updating your resume, updating your social media, defining your brand, making brand statements, things like that, writing cover letters, those parts. The ownership is taking ownership of that visual analysis, your visual, not analysis, but because that analysis part happens during the self discovery and some of the transformation, but really taking ownership of the visual part of your brand and thinking about that. And so, not just the written parts, but the visual, which this could be your appearance. It could be brand assets such as a logo, a word mark, assets that you might use within social media platforms, things like that. Then resonance is the next part. And that part is to really, how is your story being carried out? How does it resonate with people? How is it being accepted? And so we help you with that and some tools to do that. And then your impact. And so the impact is basically that launching, getting it out there, and then evaluating how your story is landing with people too. So more to come on the story framework in the future. So some case studies. This was a client that came to us that felt really stuck in their job and their position. They had finished their undergrad, they were working on their master's and then also a certificate, but also had a job that they weren't happy in at all. And so did a lot of work, worked on her resume, her LinkedIn, created a portfolio for an interview, which she was able to, take digitally, plus also hand to people. And she was able to eventually get a new job, and she's very, very happy in her new position. I'm still meeting with her somewhat to just periodically check-ins to see what she wants to do with the next part of her career. These are fake names. We do protect the confidentiality of our clients so that they can feel free to, share what they're doing and what they're working on. Here's some examples of some resume reviews and some brand analysis, a LinkedIn profile optimization and updated LinkedIn section, and then a case study of the portfolio that was created too. Here's another client. This person is a teaching professor at a university and came to me trying to figure out how to move from industry to navigating higher ed and academia. And so worked with her on just academia because it is a whole different language. And so how do you navigate it? What do you do? Went through her CV, her curriculum vitae for academia, pulled together her industry resume and then her academic CV because she felt like they needed to be separate. They really need to be together because it's really an advantage that she has such great industry experience in academia. And so we did that, worked on her LinkedIn. I went in, basically redid her whole LinkedIn for her, redid her header, came up with a brand kit for her. I don't think I have the brand kit in here. But this is another person that working with and another faculty member in creating brand assets. And so these are going to be all, this is still in process, but they're going to be all bundled together for her so that she can pull these files down, use them in presentations or social media posts, or if she needs to promote a class or needs to present something. Some of them were used in her dossier for promotion to associate professor too. Other things that we've done is having some virtual group mentoring, and this one was on mentors, finding mentors, how to find mentors, how to navigate that. So this was a 9-month program that I did with Colorado State University and their Women of Color Network. Built out some different worksheets for them so that they could, reflect and, think about that mentor relationship, have some goals for it. And then also provided some strategies and we did some role playing too on how to seek a mentor, but then also how to navigate if there's some challenges with that mentorship relationship, because sometimes that does happen. Workshops, as I mentioned, Valerie has this workshop that she is offering. It's on elevator pitches. And then Gian, we're working on releasing his data insights and storytelling, how to take those numbers and make visual, but also interpret the data so that you can talk about it both in written format and verbal format or in graphics. And then Mark has this fantastic series on personal branding. So first, this understanding that there is a personal brand, and then how do you build it? And then the last part is then how do you support that personal brand? Because it takes a group. And so creating that board of directors, those individuals that have specialties in different areas that can help support you to maintain or grow or evolve that personal brand, because it will change throughout one's career and life. I am doing a group coaching on the Black doctoral experience. Over the years, I've worked with quite a few Black doctoral students at various universities, and there's some unique challenges that this group has, and I've had experience helping people navigate through that. So I am leading that group. So if you know individuals, please send them our way. We have the starter for this is, I think, $9 a month or $50 a year, and to be involved. Also, this actually was a workshop that I did last summer, and we'll get this out digital too. But AI is such an important part of what we are experiencing, and it's such a great way to create brand assets that you can use to help tell your story either through social media posts, if you're writing a blog, an article, journal articles, presentations, things like that. And textiles are a great way to create some of these brand assets that you can use as backgrounds and things. So we have the prompt playbook that is out there that is also available for sale too. I think it's cheap. It's like $4.95. Things that we do, we're going to start this back up again as our innovator of the week. This was Colin Bear, who our podcast just released last week of him. He was on our podcast too. But if you have ideas for young professionals, transitioning professionals, anyone that's just doing something that's interesting, we would love to highlight them for the Innovator of the Week. And what we do is highlight them within our newsletter. And then on Fridays, we highlight them on social media. And then I also invite them to be on our podcast too. I truly believe that everyone has an interesting story to tell. And so the goal is for us to tell the story of 1,000 individuals. And then after we reach 1,000, I'll decide if we move on, continue on, or do something different. We also have the AI Innovation Lab for academics. This is on LinkedIn. Academia is kind of swirling and navigating all of the changes with AI and how to integrate it within the classroom. In my other role as a faculty member, I am working with some graduate students on articles. We actually just had one published in July, and we're working on 2 more articles on how to integrate AI and avatars into academia. And so there's just many ways that academics can use AI, which is exciting, but also scary. And then, there has to be some parameters. So this is a space for people to discuss that. We also have our Facebook group, and we have a group. I think we're at like 306 people now that are in the group. And this has just kind of grown organically. Every day there are discussion posts that are posted out. Each month we have a challenge. This month is on kind of refreshing and celebrating our 2-year anniversary. So each day there's a prompt for that for discussion. And so people will jump in with ideas and discussions. We also have just some thought pieces for people to think about, and people will respond to that. And then we also have some AI prompts that are posted each day that people can just copy and paste and use in like ChatGPT or on one of the other platforms. We also have the Innovation Insights Circle. So this is another platform where we have quite a few references for and resources for people to use. And this, we're going to continue to grow the circle. I think we have about 80 people that are involved with it currently. In our podcast, we have released episode 64, and it's about innovation. So each person kind of tells their career story, and then we ask them how they define innovation. Now, our podcast is a little bit different for our guests. We really do want it to be a experience where they're getting something out of it, and that we're helping them tell their story. That has always been an important part of that for me. And so each day, clips from the podcast come out 3 to 5 times a day. Um, each day now we have a definition of innovation from one of the podcast guests. We have over 3,000 clips from the podcast so far. That's out on YouTube. And each podcast guest also gets what you're seeing here is a page. But each person will have theirs where they can have links to the blogs that's written about their podcast episode, all the platforms that the podcasts are on, and then contact information. Really trying to do this a little bit differently, because oftentimes the podcasts, you're invited, you just show up and record it, and then it's done. I've been on some, and I don't even know if they've been released ever. We have prep meetings, and then there's communications afterwards, and then there's continued information going out from each podcast. Insights is our blog. So we have blogs about the podcast, and then plus some other blogs too, and we'll continue to grow the blog and the information that's going out on the blog, and that's on our website. The Innovation Insight news, that comes out every Wednesday. So please sign up for that. And yeah, we have tips. We have, our latest news, release of the blog, release of the podcast, featuring our innovators of the week, our communities. We talk about that. There's a couple of challenges that are in there too. There's usually some type of innovation at the very end that we highlight with a YouTube video of innovation that's happening out there in the world. And then we also have coloring pages too, because innovation should be fun. So please sign up for that. And then we have the Academic Innovation News. This is linked to one of our LinkedIn pages. That's for academics. Again, information about what's happening in academia related to innovation, which a lot is happening now. And then our podcast news, which is kind of background information about our podcast and behind the scenes information there. So we have a retail store and working on some new products for that, since it's the fourth quarter of the fiscal business year, retail year. And so we're excited about some new things that will be coming out there too. And we also have some digital products too to help people. And then Insights and Company is the main stagnation fighter, but she also has her team and kind of does her own thing at times. So again, we do have her as a chat bot on our website, but she also has a team, Creative Spark and Problem Solver. Eventually, they're There are some clips that are starting to come out right now about her and her impact on fighting stagnation. And the goal here really is to have some fun, but also have a different way to deliver some information about storytelling, innovation, fighting stagnation, things like that. So watch for Inno Insights and Creative Spark and Problem Solver. Deaf Innovation Jam are this is our comedy series that's on YouTube, and so innovation is kind of funny. You have to just kind of laugh sometimes, and so we have some AI generated stand up comics on and a playlist for our Innovation Jam. So please check that out on YouTube. I think if you just search Deaf Innovation Jam, you'll find them. And then we do have some little apps that we're developing to help people kind of use Chat GPT or those types of platforms in different ways. Yeah, so that is us. That is us. Thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to year 3.